Alright, so we got our next round of trucks out, and as you can see we've made a bunch of changes to them. The most obvious is going to be these huge cutouts on the front and back, and this is going to allow you to get better access to your hardware. We've also changed the way the cam is attached to the truck, and it just pops on and off now using these rivets, and the cam has holes drilled in them, so it's really easy to interchange them. And then I think the biggest change is going to be O-rings. So O-rings are nice because they allow you a range now of different resistance to have on your trucks. So up until now, we've only had these two options. So from about October, as of October about last year, so almost a year, we've had a lot of people just running nothing. There's a while where we had O-rings, but then we dropped O-rings. As soon as we started using the extrusions, we couldn't use O-rings anymore. And there was a while before we had developed the springs. So for about 3 months, this is what we rode. And a lot of people like this. This is actually really good for pushing, because as you're pushing with your foot, you can have your foot on the board, and because it's stable and it likes to go flat, but there's so little resistance that you can easily move it from side to side with just one foot and steer as you're pushing. And we call that micro steering, and that's super nifty. It makes these trucks, in my opinion, probably the easiest trucks to push. So then we also have with springs, and so we've had springs since August of this year, and that's what most people have been riding, is either nothing or just springs, and the springs are pretty weak. I mean, it doesn't take a lot to fully extend it. But now we've also got these options here. So this is the least amount resistance. One up is the springs. The next up is going to be an O-ring without any springs at all. And see, it's a little harder to pull out, a little harder to turn. Next up from that one is going to be the O-ring with the spring. And this is probably what I would enjoy the most. I like a little more resistance. This is more of, I think most people, when they first stand on the board, when they're first getting used to it, this is probably what they're going to like. They may eventually go on to just do springs or even take everything off completely, because this isn't bad, it's just hard to get used to. But yeah, I like it like this. And let's see, last there's this one here, and I think this is probably as much as most people are ever going to want on any board, and I think this is probably even too much for a lot of riding, except for if it's a top mount board without any drop. I don't think this would really work well on any other board except for a top mount, a tall top mount, because otherwise you wouldn't have enough leverage ratio to move freely with this setup. So just with that, we've got 5 different resistance options, but it actually can go even further, because with this we're actually only using just this one size O-ring, which is this size here, but they come in smaller sizes and even larger sizes. I don't know if I have larger O-rings. See this one larger? Nope. But yeah, they come in all sorts of different sizes, and they're standard parts. So these O-rings are made, they're made to spec. These are standard sizes that you can order this size from different manufacturers, made from different facilities, made in different countries, and for a really affordable, cheap price. So we don't have to make those, so we don't have to make them a higher price. So that's nice for the consumer. And my favorite thing about the O-rings is you can actually put the O-rings on and off and do it as you're walking up the hill. And you can put them on or take them off as you're riding. Oh, come on. Hard time grabbing that one, but yeah. I mean, a lot of times I'll change how many O-rings I'm riding with as I'm actually walking up the hill. So I think this is a really important step with the O-rings. I had to go through I had to convince a lot of people that we needed to be doing this, because a lot of our riders, having ridden so long without O-rings and then just with springs, a lot of our riders are so used to it and so used to the freedom of movement that they don't like the restriction of even just, this. So, but it's more comfortable for riders who are riding it for the first time, and I thought that was really important. So, and a lot of our people still aren't convinced that this is the step that we should be taking. So yeah, hopefully when I get these out, I'll be getting feedback from riders who haven't ridden our trucks before. So, and then I want to show you something else real quick too. So this is just one of our trucks, and with the springs, something we've been wanting to do with our trucks, a direction we're hoping to be able to reach eventually, is not even having a bolt in the trucks at all. This is kind of rideable. I mean, we said that the trucks are rideable without resistance, but we haven't made any claims as far as riding without even the bolt in there, and that's kind of because it's not really rideable like this. But you can see, it's plausible to think that it could be made to be rideable like this without any sort of bolt in there. And hopefully that's where we're going to go eventually. But you can see right now there's no limit to how much it can actually lean, which is not ideal. But I thought it was interesting enough to show this concept. So there.